Profound theological discourse from Habib Omar bin Hafid.
And we're going to get into the nature of reality itself, obedience, and what true success actually means according to this text.
So our mission today is to, I guess, give you a shortcut to the core conflict here.
Exactly. It's a choice, a really life-altering one, between two paths. There's the temporary sensory world, the deceptive one.
And then there's the permanent, the spiritual, the meaningful.
We have to get those terms down. The source calls the fleeting world al-hiswamada.
Right, the physical, the material, what you can touch and see.
And the other, the enduring reality, is al-mana wal-ruh, the spirit, truth, meaning.
And we're going to unpack how this distinction isn't just, abstract philosophy.
No, not at all. It's the very foundation of your daily choices, your intentions, what you do with your money, and ultimately your eternal destination. This is the bigger picture.
So, to start, we have to establish the foundational premise. Where does all this guidance even come from?
It starts with the absolute authority of the divine. I mean, the text is firm on this. God is the creator, the living, the judge. Everything returns to him. That's the baseline.
So any search for meaning that begins somewhere else is already on shaky ground.
It immediately risks falling into that trap of the fleeting sensory world.
And from that starting point, the purpose of revelation, of books, of messengers, all culminating in the Prophet Muhammad was what exactly?
To provide clear guidance, to steer humanity and jinn towards, well, happiness.
Which brings us to the core declaration of faith, La ilaha illallah. The source is very clear that just saying the words is not enough.
It's not. It has to be a complete sort of 360-degree commitment.
So it's not just an idea you agree with. It has to show up in your actions. How does the text say it should manifest?
True realization means it has to be sincere in every single part of your life. Your intentions, your goals, your words, your deeds, how you move, your financial dealings, even your basic character.
So if your intention is really just about material gain, even if you say all the right things, the commitment's not really there.
Exactly. It's about aligning your inner truth with your outer actions.
That is a very high bar. And the text says if you miss that mark, there are two main ways people get pulled off the path.
Two primary routes to deviation, yes. The first one is internal.
Your own desires.
Following your own desires, your whims, the ego, which the text says literally captivate and mislead you. It's self-deception, really.
And the second path is external. This one feels very relevant today.
It is. It's following corrupt and wicked people who spread moral decay and falsehood in the world. You're letting their external corruption poison your internal state.
Now, this is the part of the source that really jumped out at me. It gives this profound redefinition of idolatry, of shirk, that has nothing to do with statues or kneeling.
That's right. The source talks about those who turn religious scholars and priests into lords. And the shocking part is they do this without praying to them or offering sacrifices.
So if they aren't praying to them, how is it worship? What's the act of submission?
It's the act of acceptance, absolute acceptance. When these leaders made permissible what God forbade, they accepted it.
Or when they forbade what God allowed.
They accepted that too, by putting a human's command or law above the divine law. That act of following them instead of God is their worship.
Wow. That changes the whole playing field. This isn't about ancient rituals.
No.
It's about who you give sovereignty to in your day-to-day life, whose command is the final word. It's an act of sovereignty transference.
Precisely. And if you misunderstand that authority structure, you will inevitably misunderstand reality itself. Which brings us to the great illusion.
Okay, let's unpack this illusion, this central tension. The text claims that any ruling, any judgment, based only on the senses, the physical, the material al-hiswamada, is temporary. It's ending. It's perishable.
So if you build your entire worldview on, say, physics, economics, sociology, but you disconnect all that amazing knowledge from its spiritual source and meaning, that whole system is just inherently unstable. It will vanish.
And here's where it gets really fascinating. The enduring reality, al-mana wal-ruh. The source says only what's connected to that inner truth, to the spirit, to meaning. Only that lasts.
Everything else, everything physical and sensory, when it's isolated from that meaning, is considered false, vain, passing.
This presents a huge challenge to our modern idea of knowledge, doesn't it?
A direct challenge. I mean, think about an expert in material sciences, a genius engineer, a master economist. If they stop there at the material level, the source has a shocking label for them.
Let's spend a moment on this because it redefines what it means to be informed. The source says that people who know only the outer appearance of worldly life are, in God's measure, not knowing.
They're seen as completely distracted by superficial physical knowledge. The text calls them heedless of the hereafter.
So it's not about intelligence.
Not at all. It's about prioritization. You can have a PhD in how atoms bond or how markets work, but if you haven't grasped why they work, who made them, and where all this is going, that knowledge is considered no knowledge.
You've mastered the temporary details, but you're completely ignorant of the eternal truth.
That is the exact tension. And the text says those who fall into this trap, who are deceived by this fleeting reality, have lost the reality of the mind. They're destined for unhappiness.
It paints a picture of just immense regret. If your whole life is built on that illusion, what happens when it collapses?
When you face death, the material world just dissolves. The source gives these specific quotes of regret spoken by people at the moment of judgment. They say, "My wealth availed me nothing."
And my authority has perished.
And the discourse turns that right back on you, the listener. It asks, point blank, did you get drunk on money? Did you cut family ties or harm good people just for a little bit of power? Because in that final moment, you'll have to admit it was all worthless.
The sermon then uses these huge historical figures to drive the point home.
It does. It asks, what did his kingdom really do for Pharaoh? What did all that legendary wealth do for Karun?
The man who needed dozens of strong men just to carry the keys to his treasures.
And what did that unrivaled physical strength do for the people of Ad? These were the absolute pinnacles of worldly power, wealth, and strength.
And in the end,
they earned nothing but the evil of this world, which led them straight to eternal punishment. The greatest material successes, they just collapse into dust if they aren't tied to a spiritual purpose. The sensory world always betrays its followers.
This circles back perfectly to that idea of divine agency. It challenges any thought that we humans are in ultimate control.
Absolutely. The text just hits you with a series of powerful questions. Who plants the seeds? Is it you or us? Who sends the rain? Who arranges death?
The message is pretty clear. No human organization, no technology, no weapon, no law on Earth controls these core realities.
You might manage the surface, but the life and death machinery is completely outside your control. It all belongs to the one who says, "We create you, why do you not believe?" It's a foundational truth.
So if that control is undeniable, that leads us to what defines real success. The sought-after endeavor. The Sayhum Mashkur.
Right. The rewarded effort. And that is defined as an effort built on reality, spirit, and meaning. The permanent things, not on senses, matter, and illusion. The intention has to be pure for God's sake, and the goal has to be the hereafter.
But what's really crucial here is the time limit. The text is very clear that the window for this is strictly limited.
Yes, the chance to elevate your rank, to gain that special knowledge that leads to the highest degrees in paradise. It's only open for the duration of your life, from the moment you exist on earth until the very moment of death.
And when that moment passes, what happens to that opportunity for growth?
It ends abruptly. The chance for spiritual ascent is just over. All that's left are the fruits of what you did before, whether it was connected to the illusion or the eternal meaning.
And to really stress the high standard required, the source brings up this amazing example.
Yeah.
The prophets' wives. They were given this very explicit high-stakes choice.
A choice that perfectly captures the whole duality we've been talking about. They could choose the adornments and embellishments of the worldly life.
The sensory illusion.
Or they could choose God, the messenger, and the hereafter, the path of meaning and spirit.
And the little story about the prophet's wife, Aisha, it makes it so personal. He's told to offer her this choice, but he also gives her this very fatherly advice. Don't rush. Go talk to your parents first.
And her response just cuts through everything. It defines the successful choice. She replies instantly, "Should I consult my parents regarding you? I choose God, his messenger, and the hereafter."
Total clarity. When you're faced with the eternal, there's no need for worldly consultation.
And the text says all 9 wives made that same choice. And because of that, they were promised a double reward for their righteous actions, because that closeness to the messenger demanded and rewarded the highest possible standard.
So what does all this mean for you, for the person listening?
Well, the synthesis of this deep dive is that every single thought, every transaction, every action you take is a choice. It's either reinforcing that fleeting illusion of the material world, or it's actively building a solid connection to the eternal world of meaning.
The discourse shows us that real success is about seeing past that immediate sensory payoff. I mean, look at the contrast the text gives. Bilal, he endured just unimaginable torture to win the hereafter.
And by doing so, he ended up earning the best of both worlds. His suffering was connected to eternal truth. His torturer, Umayya, who is obsessed with worldly power.
He earned the worst of both worlds.
Exactly. No real benefit here and
Right.
eternal fire there. Everything is defined by what it's connected to. Is it perishable or is it permanent?
And there's a final important nuance. The text reminds us that God gives wealth and provisions to everyone, the guided and the astray.
The provision itself is just a tool in this short life. The tool doesn't define the outcome. Your connection to meaning does.
So the only true currency is what lasts.
Which brings us to the final thought. If the highest knowledge of the material world is considered no knowledge on the ultimate scale, the provocative question for you to think about this week is this. What temporary fact, pursuit, or material goal in your life are you currently letting distract you from that which is eternal, knowing that the window for spiritual ascent closes the moment you die?
That's a perspective shift that stays with you. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive. We'll be back soon with more of your sources.